Welcome to part 4 of our Start Dreaming tutorials. I see Cuthbert has managed to get himself in a pickle again. Connie, how do you put up with him? What a spanner. But with Connie's help, we can rescue him. This time around, I'll show you how to select and group your creations and how to scope in and out of groups. Luckily, someone left behind a block for us to use. Remember how to repeat clone blocks to create a bridge? Well, let's do that again. Move your view side on to the block and the gap. Hold L1, then grab the block with R2. Move it with the motion sensor function to create a clone. Just like last time, let go of L1 while still holding R2, then press the directional buttons to make more clones. If you rotate the first block a little before you clone it, you can make an arch. Use L2 to make the first block angle up slightly, then make the clone angle down. Press the left directional button to repeat clone, and the clones will line up to make an arch. Amazing, right? Let's quickly test that in play mode. Looks great. Switch back to edit mode, rewind time, and go to the next step of the tutorial. Now, you probably noticed that all the blocks, the original as well as its clones, were selected automatically after cloning. You can tell when things are selected because they have an animated dashed outline. But after we switched between play and edit modes, everything was deselected. So let's select them again. All you have to do is hover your imp over one of the blocks and press X. There's the outline again. Now do the same to the rest until the whole bridge is selected. Can you see how each block has its own outline, with a double line where they meet? That's because they're still individual elements. You can deselect them one at a time with X, but it's much quicker if you deselect them all at once with Circle. Give it a try. There's also a faster way of selecting multiple objects. Just select one as before, but this time keep X held down. Now move your imp to select the others. Better than selecting one at a time, right? So much faster. The great thing about having multiple objects selected is that you can manipulate them as if they were one object. For example, if all the blocks are selected, you can clone the bridge sideways to create a double bridge. Plenty of room for Connie to cross it without falling off the edge. Try it in play mode. Once Connie is across the gap, go back to edit mode and move on to the next step. You know, this bridge would be really useful to help Connie cross to the next platform. Use X to select all the blocks again. If we're going to use this bridge a lot, we can make it into a group. That way, it will behave like a single element and you won't have to keep selecting all the blocks. Have you noticed the menu at the side of the screen? It appears when you have one or more objects selected. That's the context menu. The options it gives you will depend on the situation you're in. In this case, all the buttons relate to selected objects. Look for the plus sign. That's the icon for the group button. The number next to it tells you how many objects you've selected. You can use this button now to turn all of those blocks into a group. There we go. The bridge is now a single element. You can tell because it has one outline around it instead of one around each block. And if you look over at the context menu, you'll see the group button now says ungroup. Use it if you want to break a group up. But we still need it to help Connie. So let's clone this bridge and place it between the second and third platforms. Just like before, hold L1 and grab the bridge with R2 to clone it. As always, remember to let go of L1. Ah, we don't need to test the bridge to see that it's not going to get Connie to the third platform. But don't worry, we'll fix that in the next step when you're ready to move on. Our bridge needs a bit of work if it's going to reach the next platform. This is the perfect opportunity to learn a new technique, scoping in. Scoping in means you can jump into a group and edit the contents individually without having to ungroup it first. And since you can only edit things inside the group, you don't have to worry about messing up anything outside it. Let's give it a try now. Select the bridge with X if it isn't already selected. Then find the Scope In button near the bottom of the context menu. Notice that it's showing you a shortcut for it, L1 and X. So hover over the bridge group, hold L1 and press X. Now you're scoped in. We can now edit all the parts as if it wasn't a group. If you want to really focus on just the group, you can hide everything else in the scene. Just use the Hide Everything Else button in the context menu. Our bridge needs a bit of work if it's going to reach the next platform. This is the perfect opportunity to learn a new technique, scoping in. Individually isn't already selected. Then find the Scope In button near the bottom of the context menu. Notice that it's showing you a shortcut for it, L1 and X. So hover over the bridge group, hold L1 and press X. Now you're scoped in. We can now edit all the parts as if it wasn't a group. If you want to really focus on just the group, you can hide everything else in the scene. Just use the Hide Everything Else button in the context menu. The icon looks like a closed eye. There's also a Scope Out button in the top right corner. This is how you exit groups. Try scoping out now. Select the button with X or use the shortcut, L1 and circle. That's it. Now scope back in again so we can fix the bridge. Just hover over it, hold L1 and press X. I think what Connie needs to reach the next platform is a move and clone tools to create a new one. To create a new one. Once you've built the staircase, test it out in play mode to make sure Connie can make it across. When you're happy with it, switch back to edit mode, rewind time, and move on to the final step of this tutorial. Is your staircase working? Fantastic. Now Connie just needs a bit more help to save poor old Cuthbert from his predicament. Luckily, you can clone your staircase group to reach the final platform. Use the clone shortcut L1 and R2 to copy the staircase group to the last platform. Don't forget to let go of L1. Once the clone has been created. That's how useful groups are. If you select the group, you'll see a button in the context menu that saves the group as a new element. Saving a group as a new element means you can use it in other scenes or share it in the Dreamiverse. You can't do that in tutorials, but you can everywhere else. Now that you've mastered selecting and grouping, I'll leave you with a thought to ponder. You can also make a group inside a group. With that, I'll let you experiment. Once you're happy that you've mastered selecting, grouping, and scoping, you have just one thing left to do. Go into play mode and take Connie and Cuthbert to the exit. I hope you've got your imp under control. I've got some spectacular tricks to show you, and some that are just alright. In this tutorial, you'll master the basic controls you learned in the home space. But this time, you'll have the full freedom of edit mode. Use the video player to play through the tutorial steps. Follow the steps carefully. It's not just about getting to the end, it's the journey that counts. So here we are. This is where the magic happens. Edit mode. The row of buttons you can see is the assembly menu. That's where you'll find all the tools and modes you need to construct your scenes. It can be opened and closed by pressing the square button. You won't need it just yet, so go ahead and close it with square. Somewhere in this scene I've hidden a puppet, which we'll need in later tutorials. I've left some clues to help you find it. Use the camera controls you learned in the home space to investigate the island. Here's a quick reminder. Use the left stick to move your imp. Use the right stick to look around the scene. To move your view, hold L1, then use the left stick to move left, right, forwards, and backwards. If you want to move up and down in the scene, just hold L1, then push the right stick up and down, backwards. To move your view, hold L1, then use the left stick to move left, right, forwards, and backwards. If you want to move up and down in the scene, just hold L1, then push the right stick up and down, backwards. If you want to move up and down in the scene, just hold L backwards. To move your view, hold L1, then use the left stick to move left, right, forwards, and backwards. If you want to move up and down in the scene, just hold L1, then push the right stick up and down. Use L1 and the left and right sticks to look around the island. If you go flying off in the wrong direction and lose your bearings, don't worry. Just hover over the mode icon in the corner of the screen. In assembly mode, the icon is a puzzle piece. Here you'll find a camera bookmark that'll take you back to where you started in the scene. Select it with X and you'll be back in familiar territory. Can you find anything here that looks like a clue? Once you've found the clue, you're ready to move on to the next step. Press the arrow button on the video to continue. Did you find that clue? It was on the back of one of those shapes. Looks a bit like a rocket. I do love a cryptic message. Why don't you look around for any rocket-related goings-on? Ah, look over there, on that island in the distance. Those shapes look a lot like the ones in the clue. Go on. Fly over there and check it out. That island is quite far away though. A good opportunity to practice using the grab cam. Do you remember how to do that? To use the grab cam, just hover your imp over an object you want to go to, then hold R1. Your imp will grab onto the object. Now push up on the left stick to zoom forward. The further you push the left stick, the faster you'll move. Once you reach the island, release R1 to stop using the grab cam. Make sure you're looking right at the cylinder and the cone. The grab cam is a powerful tool for navigating scenes. In fact, it's so powerful, you could easily get lost in the scene if you accidentally grabbed the wrong object or zoomed out too far. But you can get back to where you started by using the camera bookmark. Just hover over the mode icon, then select the camera bookmark with X. If you need to re-watch any of the tutorial steps, you can. Use the skip buttons on the video player to move between tutorial steps. There's also a button to rewind 10 seconds if you miss something. Start the next step when you're ready to continue. Think back to the first clue. The cone was on top of the cylinder, right? In edit mode, you interact with everything using your imp, the very tip of your imp's pointy part. See how there's an icon in a circle there? That shows you what tool the imp is using. Right now, it's the arrows icon, which means the imp is using the move tool. That's the default tool in edit mode, because editing a scene means moving things around a lot. Let's see the imp in action. First, grab the cone. Hover over it with your imp and hold R2. Now your imp has the cone, try to put it on top of the cylinder, just like in the clue. Use L1 and the left stick to move the cone backwards and forwards. Objects in scenes can intersect and overlap, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Get it roughly into place, and I'll show you how to refine it later. If the video player gets in your way, grab and move it with your imp using R2. You can even minimize the video and play along with audio only. Or maximize it to watch in Instructions view. In Instructions view, you also get a step-by-step guide for the video. When you've got the cone in place, you're ready for the next step. Now, that looks pretty good, at least from this angle. Creating scenes in three-dimensional space means that you should always look at your creations from different angles. The easiest way to do that is with the grab cam. Try it out on the cone. Hover over it, then press and hold R1. Pushing the left and right sticks moves your point of view around the cone. Easy! Now that you can get a proper look at it, check that the cone is on straight. Unlike mine. Let go of R1 to stop using the grab cam. And use R2 to make any adjustments you need. Here's a little secret called nudge. If you don't press R2 all the way down, but just hold it lightly, you can move the cone slowly, giving you finer control. If you need a reminder of the controls at any time, select the mode icon in the corner of the screen. This menu shows you the mode you're in, the tool you're using, and a list of controls. Select the button again to hide the controls. Once you're happy the cone is straight, you can move on to the next step. Hey, look at that! Another clue. It's a molecule. I know because I put it there. Just play along with me. Why don't you look around with the right stick and see if you can find another molecule? There's one, over there by that island. You're hot on the trail. But before you go zooming over there with the grab cam, there's an even faster way to zip around scenes. Hover your imp over that orange cube in the distance. Now hold L1 and then press R1, the grab cam button. You don't have to hold it or use the stick this time. See? Told you it was quicker. L1 is a very special button. You know the way that on a computer keyboard, holding down Shift changes what some keys do? Well, in Dreams, holding down L1 changes what the other buttons do. Like the way we use L1 to change the function of the left and right sticks. That's not all it can do though. You'll learn lots of L1 shortcuts as you play through the tutorials. Now that you know how to move around quickly, see if you can find the next clue somewhere on this island. Remember to use the grab cam to look around the whole island. Once you've found the clue, you can move on.
Did you find the next clue?
It was on the back of the orange cube. What on earth could it mean? If I had eyes, I would wink at you right now. I can't see any other green trash cans around. Unless... Of course, the trash can is the icon for the delete tool. I'm so devious. That must mean you need to delete the orange cube.
Here's a reminder of how to delete things in edit mode. Hover your imp over the cube, then press the triangle button.
And it's gone. These tools are powerful. Delete the orange sphere next. If you change your mind or delete the wrong thing, you can press undo, which is the left directional button. And if you want to redo, just press the right directional button. You can undo and redo pretty much anything, not just deletions. Oh look, there was a clue hidden in the cube. An arrow. Perhaps there's another one like it nearby. Look around with the right stick and see if you can spot it. Once you've found it, you can move on to the next step. That was my final clue telling you where to go. The island right above us. I know you're an expert in moving around with the left stick now.
But let's practice strafing up and down with the right stick. Remember, holding L1 modifies what the buttons do. Normally, the right stick is used to look around the scene. But if you hold L1 then push up on the right stick, you can move up and down instead.
Position yourself so you're looking at the orange arrow which is pointing up.
Now hold L1 and push up on the right stick.
We have liftoff. Keep pushing the stick until you reach the island.
You can also move up and down by pushing your imp against the edges of the screen.
When you're ready, move on to the next step. Right, here's the puppet I reserved for you. Let's call her Connie, 'cause she looks like a cone. We need to help Connie walk through the door to complete this tutorial. To do that, we're going to have to switch over to play mode. Remember, right now you're in edit mode. This is where you create and edit your scenes. In play mode, you can experience the scene just like a player would if they found it in the Dreamiverse. You can't make any changes in play mode, but you can take control of characters and try out what you've made. Switch over to play mode now. Just press the options button on your controller.
Move your imp over the controller icon, then press X to select it.
To control a puppet in a scene, you first need to possess it with R2. Try that now. She's full of beans, isn't she? I picked her just for you. Walk her around a bit, then take her through the door to finish this tutorial. Oh, looks like the door's too high. There's more to Connie than meets the eye, though. She might be able to reach it if you make her jump by pressing X. Oops. I remember now. I always forget to put the steps in. Better head back into edit mode. To switch back to edit mode, just press Options again, then select the pencil icon. Did you see those stairs on the island below us?
Those might come in handy now, so strafe down to them with L1 and the right stick.
If you've deleted the stairs, you can use Undo by pressing the left directional button. Just keep pressing it until the stairs come back. Okay, press and hold R2 to grab them.
Now, without letting go of R2, hold L1 and use the right stick to strafe back up to Connie.
Place the stairs in front of the door and let go of R2. There, that should do it. It's back to play mode now. Remember, press Options, then select the controller icon with X. You'll be switching back and forth between edit and play mode a lot when you're creating your own scenes. It's a great way to test out your scenes, making sure they look and work just how you want them to. Okay, I think we can get Connie to the next lesson now. All we need to do is walk her through the door. Possess Connie with R2, then climb up the stairs. What are you waiting for? Get in there. Are you ready to get those creative juices flowing? This tutorial's all about making your creations beautiful. Now, this is Connie's front garden. But what's this? It's had all the colour, style and magic sucked out of it. But not to worry, Connie. We can help make the garden pretty again with the power of dreams. Just to start you off, all the lighting's already done. We can learn more about that later. And because I'm ever your servant, I've also grouped some of these objects just for you. It'll make editing them quicker and easier. So what does the garden need? Well, it could do with some colour, texture, and movement. Luckily, the coat, style, and effects modes are the perfect tools to do that. They don't create new objects. They modify existing sculptures and paintings. And they work on groups. With just a little practice, you can become a master of them all. So let's start by adding some colour with the Tint Tool. Open the Assembly menu with the square button and go to the Modes menu. Each mode has its own set of tools and options. The Tint Tool is in coat mode. It has an icon that looks like a pot of paint being spilled. Select it by pressing the X button. As you can see, the Assembly menu has now been replaced with the Coat menu. In the top row, you'll find Options and Helpers. Along the bottom, you'll find the tools. Now, which colour to use? Open the Colours menu in the top row of icons. These are colour groups. You can expand a colour group with X. Each group contains more shades that you can choose from. I'm going to find a green for the foliage, but if green's not your thing, you can experiment. Is the menu too long? You can scroll it by grabbing it with R2. Pick a shade, or if you fancy a more painterly or organic look, choose the tumbler color at the end of the group. That will apply a random shade that changes as you work. When you've chosen a color, you're ready to go to the next step. To add color to our scene, we'll use the Tint Tool, which has an icon like an airbrush. You can manually select it in the Tools menu. But in Coat mode, choosing a color from the Colors menu equips the Tint Tool automatically. See the airbrush icon on the tip of your imp. The Tint Tool recolors objects. Select. To add color to our scene, we'll use the Tint Tool, which has an icon like an airbrush. You can manually select it in the Tools menu. But in Coat mode, choosing a color from the Colors menu equips the Tint Tool automatically. See the airbrush icon on the tip of your imp. The Tint Tool recolors objects, either tinting or completely covering their original color. Just press and hold R2 to tint the objects at the tip of your imp. No need to select or scope into anything. The rounded clumps look a bit dreary in this scene. Let's add some color. You can see that the longer you hold R2, the stronger the tint gets. And with a tumbler color selected, it will cycle through different shades. If you make a mistake, you can undo using the left directional button. Or set your tool to subtract and you can detint. How do you do that? If you press triangle while the tool is active, your imp will change to an outline. So now it will remove tint instead of adding it. And that works on pretty much all of the coat, style, and effects tools. Just press triangle when they're equipped to make them subtractive. Try removing some color using subtractive tint now. Just hold R2 over the object. And to make the tool additive again, press triangle. Now that you've got to grips with that, you can color in the whole scene with the Tint Tool. Go wild! Use different colors to tint the path, rocks, river, grass, trees, and the little cottage. The Colors menu has all the colors you need. Just open a color group and pick a shade, or the tumbler color. Take some time to color your scene. When you're done, move on to the next step. Good job. Now your scene is beautifully coloured in, let's add some texture to it. For that, we need to leave coat mode and go into style mode. To leave a mode, select the exit button in the top right of the screen. Or you can use a shortcut. Hold L1 and press circle. Just like scoping out of a group. Now use the Modes menu to switch over to Style. We need to leave coat mode and go into Style mode. To leave a mode, select the Exit button in the top right of the screen. Or you can use a shortcut. Hold L1 and press circle. Just like scoping out of a group. Now use the Modes menu to switch over to Style mode. The Style mode icon is an S-shaped brushstroke. All sculptures and paintings in Dreams are made up of flecks, and Style mode is where we manipulate them. For example, notice how the objects in this scene look smooth. That's because their flecks are small and tightly packed together. We can make them more textured with the Looseness tool. Select the Looseness tool. It looks like a blurry circle. Now try using R2 to loosen some of the foliage in the scene. Don't hold back. As you can see, loosening sculptures and paintings means their flecks become more obvious. If you think they're getting too loose, press triangle to make the tool subtractive and tighten them up again with R2. Or you can just use the left directional button to undo. Don't forget to loosen up the river too. We'll need it in the following steps. Carry on loosening the objects in the scene. When you're happy, proceed to the next step. Wonderful! Connie's garden looks like a lovely painting. Let's look at the water now. Water has a reflective quality, so let's add some shine to the river. This is where the Finish tool comes in. Exit out of Style mode with L1 and Circle and head back into Coat mode in the Modes menu. Next to the Colors menu in Coat mode, you'll find the Finishes menu. Select it with X. These finishes change the way objects react to light in your scene. Using finishes, you can make objects shiny, rough, metallic, or even translucent. Now you can choose your finish for the river. Let's see. Ah, yes. How about shiny wax? Wax finishes are translucent, and the shine will give the river a reflective surface that will catch the light. Apply the finish as before using R2. Remember that you can revert your changes by switching to subtractive mode with triangle or by using undo. Try editing the finish on other groups and objects in the scene. Continue to the next step when you're ready. Our river looks nice and shiny now, but something's missing. It doesn't flow like water does. But there's a magical tool for that in effects mode. It's called the Flow Tool. Leave Coat Mode if you haven't already, and enter Effects Mode. The Effects Mode icon has some twinkly stars on it. Alongside the Flow Tool, you'll notice other animated effects that you can apply to sculptures or paintings. But for now, we'll pick the Flow Tool. Its icon is a tap, or a faucet if you're from the US. Press X over the Flow Tool to select it, and use R2 to apply it to the river. Isn't that lovely? In Effects Mode, you can preview the flow effect even when time is paused. But if you leave Effects Mode, you'll need to click R3 to see the effects in action. When the river's flowing at the right speed, you may notice something a bit odd. It's flowing the wrong way. Let's fix that using another tool found in Style Mode, the Comb Tool. Leave Effects Mode using L1 and Circle, then go back into Style Mode via the Modes menu. The Comb Tool icon is some wavy lines. Select it with X. Now we're going to make the river flow the correct way. How do we do that? You guessed it. Hold R2 to comb the flecks of the river so they go in the right direction. We're no longer in Effects Mode, so we can't see the flow effect animating. But just click R3 to start time, and you'll be able to see it again. The key is to move your imp in the direction you'd like the flecks to flow. A bit like you're combing the river's hair. We can't see the flecks. Hold R2 to comb the flecks of the river so they go in the right direction. We're no longer in Effects Mode, so we can't see the flow effect animating. But just click R3 to start time, and you'll be able to see it again. The key is to move your imp in the direction you'd like the flecks to flow. A bit like you're combing the river's hair. Very stylish. Let go of R2 when you're happy with the flow direction. And now you can see the river is going the correct way. But if it isn't, just undo and try again. When you're happy with the speed and direction of the river, click L3 to rewind time. Then it's off to the next step. This scene is really coming together. Next, let's do something interesting with the chimney smoke. Move closer to the smoke so you can see the flecks clearly. These flecks don't look very smoky, do they? Let's change that. If you're not already in Style Mode, head there now using the Modes menu. Open the Flex menu with X. It's the button in the center of the top row. Now choose a fleck that looks smoky. How about the dots fleck? When you choose a fleck type, it'll automatically select the Apply Fleck tool. Now, hover your imp over the smoke and hold R2. The flecks will change. That's better. Let's inspect it now using the grab cam. Grab it with R1. And while you're grabbing, spin around it with the left or right stick. The paint strokes look a bit flat, don't they? You can only see them well from certain angles. We can make it a bit more billowy and three-dimensional using the Impasto tool. In the Style menu, select the Impasto tool, then hold R2 to apply it to the smoke. Watch as the individual flecks of the painting become more three-dimensional. To see it better, use the grab cam to spin around the smoke again. the individual flecks of the painting become more three-dimensional. To see it better, use individual flecks of the painting, then hold R2 to apply it to the smoke. Watch as the individual flecks of the painting become more three-dimensional. To see it better, use the grab cam to spin around the smoke again. You can also press undo and redo to compare the smoke with and without Impasto. Now that you've mastered Impasto, the last style tool we're going to use is the Ruffle Tool. The Ruffle Tool icon looks like a lot of lines going in different directions. It will randomly rotate the flecks so they're not as orderly. It works in the same way as the other two tools. Select it with X, then use R2 to apply it. And switch the tool to subtractive by pressing triangle. Ruffle makes quite a difference, doesn't it? Why not see if you can animate the smoke using the flow tool in effects mode? When you're happy, go to the next step of the tutorial. Why not see if you can animate the smoke using the flow tool in effects mode? When you're happy, go to the next step of the tutorial. Tutorial. Now that the scene is looking good, we should make Connie's cottage look more welcoming for her. We can do that using something called the Glow tool. So head back to the Modes menu and into Coat mode. The Glow tool has an icon that looks like a little sun. Select it with X, then move your view over to the cottage for a closer look. Now position your view so that you can see the door and the window of the cottage. Then hold R2 over the window in the door to make it glow. Go on, give it some welly. Whoa, that's too bright. Let's press triangle to make the tool subtractive, then use R2 to reduce the glow. Maybe you could try tinting the window to change the color of the light. See what you think. Have a play with the Glow tool, and then move on to the next step when you're ready. The scene looks so alive now, and Connie's in love with her new home. It's hard to believe that this scene used to be all grey and blocky. Let's try something. How different did we actually make it? To see, we can use a special trick. Press square to open the menu, and then take a look in the Show Hide section. The Show Hide icon looks like an open eye. It can be found in most of the mode's menus. In the Show Hide menu, you can make all sorts of different objects visible or invisible. It only works in edit mode, so your scene will still look the same in play mode. Some of them are on by default, and some are switched off. Coat, Style and Effects is one of the options which is on by default. Its icon is a combination of the icons for all three of those modes. Try turning it off by pressing X over it. Wow, what an amazing difference. That shows you how powerful these tools really are. Using Coat, Style and Effects, you can make even the most boring block come alive. Practice using the tools and see what you can come up with. When you're finished, go to play mode in the options menu and walk Connie into her beautiful new home. This will complete the tutorial.